Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be all right. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. Tonight, we're going to go back into the Kybalion, and we're going to go a little deeper into our knowledge of the all. I also want to say thank you to YouTube because they eventually let my videos go through. And so for me, that is a plus, and I'm very grateful. Unfortunately, it comes 3 or 4 days later, and it happens when it happens. So I just want to thank them for that. I know that they had changed some of their policies, but we do know that everything works on an algorithm. And so we have to go for that. In presenting the Kybalion and trying to retrain our minds, we as a people, and especially Asiatic people, because we are the target of so many enemies, we've been taught to deal in our emotions and in our feelings, and that sometimes keeps us from our dreams. I would say dare to dream. You can't really have a future if you don't have a vision or a dream. And then I would say write the vision down. I would say as you listen to these tapes, take notes. I'm not adept, but I study and I research, and then I share what I have. So we're learning some of this stuff together. Some I have an idea of, but had not delved into the intricacies of what I knew. And this is very exciting for me. So sometimes when you're speaking from logical theories, philosophies, point of view, then it may be a little confusing at first, but you have to kind of keep listening to it until it, ring that bell in your head where you have that aha moment. I'm only speaking for a moment because I did a new rendition of my song In a Mother's Love, and I want to play that. I don't think I sung it pretty well. I think I really messed the song up close to the end, but I don't care because I was really wanting to sing that song. And after the 3 takes, I wasn't doing it again. I was just going to be satisfied with what I have. So hopefully you can bear through it. But I think that we need to get back to the matriarchy. And what that means is putting a woman in her rightful position as the giver of life, the nurturer, the teacher, the rule setter. That's in the beginning of your life. All you know is that mother's love. No matter how cold, callous, or warm, that's all you know as a kid. And I have come to the realization that this word is not for everybody. And only those who want to dare to dream and go after it will tune in. And I am satisfied with that. As long as YouTube keep allowing my videos to play, I will continue to make videos no matter how many is in the audience. Because one day, and one day soon, people are going to be looking for knowledge. And this is the information age, and there is a lot of knowledge out here. So sit back and enjoy. I'm so glad to see everybody here. Regina M., I'm glad to see you here early. It warms my heart. Maria, as always, it's an honor to have you in here because I know how hard you work. and for you to take the time to come in and be with us means a lot. Asatar, hey. Hey, so Alicia, glad to see you. Ask what you say. Greetings, everybody. Hope everyone is having a great hump day. I'm out picking up some pizzas for the kids, and I on daddy duties tonight. Yeah, as tonight was a pizza night for us too. That's what Phyllis did. Hey, Phyllis, I didn't know you were in here. Yeah, she picked up pizza for us, so we had pizza. And Regina was so kind to remind everyone of the 7 Hermetic principles, which are mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And you may have heard of these in different principles, maybe not all together, or you may have heard someone speaking about them and you didn't really quite understand and didn't know that you were exercising or living in the parameter of these principles. But it's good to actually know them for yourself and study them, and it'll give us a different way of thinking. I think if we could retrain the mind to get out of our emotions, I know for me, that would be a great thing, because I think that's why most of us don't communicate well, is because we don't know how. It's not that we don't want to, and everybody talk about having the real conversations, but nobody, in my opinion, not nobody, but most bodies don't have real conversations. They have battle of wits instead of just speaking from their train of thought in a manner that's respectful to all. And yeah, so Alicia, you love you some pizza. Huh? Regina says emotional balance and maturity. So here we go. I'm going to let y'all hear my new rendition, and after that, you'll hear my voice. And then our second part is going to be about what Regina has been asking us about, and it's just talking about the family, the Asiatic family, and the breakdown, and what do we think about it. And I'm going to just do a little bit that I found on the painful history of child support. I was looking for certain information that I haven't found yet, and I'll find it, and we can talk about that in detail. But we're going to talk about the breakdown of this family unit of an Asiatic family. And Asiatic is a family that most people call themselves Black. And one day we'll go into how Black is dead civilly in the eyes of the law. It's a legal status. And a lot of us don't even have a clue about status or jurisdiction. We've never heard of those terms in the manner where it relates to human life in the body of politics. But of course, we were not taught politics, so there's a lot of things that we just have no clue about. And so we talk from what we've learned and what we've heard, and not actually what we know. And it's a difference when you know something and you don't have to rely on anything, memory, nothing, because it's you, it's there, it's in you. And then you will be able to express it in a different manner. And that's what I look forward to, because I'm truly a dramatic, highly emotional communicator. And that's good sometimes, sometimes not so good. So, on that note, let's just hear about a mother's love, and forgive my, because you may hear some of that throughout this song. In a mother's love, you will find everything, everything's alright. To a mother's love, you are bound. You can rest on sacred ground. In a mother's love, You are free to dream because she sees what you can be. In the mother's love, you see the sun, enough for two, but you're one. In the mother's love, you can feel something hurts. You can heal. Yes, a mother's love is real. You grow because she knows to let you go. Yeah, mama. Mama, mama, mama. Mother's love. Mother's love. Yeah. All right. A mother's love. And a mother's love never lies. She believes that you can fly with all of her might. A mother's love. Yay, mama. We won't hear it again. Chapter 6, the Kybalion, the divine paradox. The half-wise, recognizing the comparative unreality of the universe, imagine that they may defy its laws. Such are vain and presumptuous fools, and they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their folly. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use law against laws, the higher against the low, and by the art of alchemy transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imagings or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. The Kybalion. This is the paradox of the universe, resulting from the principle of polarity, which manifests when the all begins to create. Hearken to it, for it points the difference between have wisdom and wisdom. While in the infinite all, the universe, its laws, its powers, its life, its phenomena, are as things witnessed in the state of meditation or dream. Yet, to all that is finite, the universe must be treated as real, and life and action and thought must be based thereupon accordingly, although with an ever understanding of the higher truth, each according to its own plane and laws. Were they all to imagine the universe were indeed reality, then woe to the universe, for there would be no escape from a lower to higher, divineward. Then would the universe become a fixity, and progress would become impossible. And if man, owing to have wisdom, acts and lives and thinks of the universe as merely a dream, in parentheses, akin to his own finite dreams, then indeed does it so become for him. And like a sleepwalker, he stumbles ever around and around in a circle, making no progress, and being forced into an awakening at last by his falling bruised and bleeding over the natural laws which he ignored. Keep your mind ever on the star, but let your eyes watch over your footsteps, lest you fall into the mire, by reason of your upward gaze. Remember the divine paradox that while the universe is not, still it is. Remember ever the two poles of truth, the absolute and the relative. Beware of half truths. What Hermetists know as the law of paradox is an aspect of the principle of polarity. The Hermetic writings are filled with references to the appearance of the paradox in the consideration of the problems of life and being. I'm going to stop. I just looked up and Regina just told us some breaking news. Breaking news for all that knows: Henry Kissinger has died at age 100, foreign policy advisor to multiple presidents of the United States. Yes, he is. He's the one who started the program in 1972, where we have a lot of the issues that we have today in our families. Powerful, influential, and one of the richest men of the Western world. Wonder why? We say our condolences to the Kissinger family. Back to the teaching that he knew so well. Okay. Where did I stop when I looked up? I'm going to go here. And their warnings are particularly directed to the problems of the absolute and the relative, which perplex all students of philosophy and which cause so many to think and act contrary to what is generally known as common sense. And we caution all students to be sure to grasp the divine paradox of the absolute and relative, lest they become entangled in the mire of the half truth. With this in view, this particular lesson has been written. Read it carefully. Okay. The first thought that comes to the thinking man after he realizes the truth that the universe is a mental creation of the all is that the universe and all that it contains is a mere illusion and unreality against which idea his instincts revolt. But this, like all other great truths, must be considered both from the absolute and the relative points of view. From the absolute viewpoint, of course, the universe is in the nature of an illusion, a dream, a phantasmagoria, as compared to the all in itself. We recognize this even in our ordinary view, for we speak of the world as a fleeting show that comes and goes, is born and dies, from the element of impermanence and change, finiteness and unstability, and sustainability must ever be connected with the idea of a created universe when it is contrasted with the idea of the all. No matter what may be our beliefs concerning the nature of both, philosopher, metaphysician, scientist, and theologian all agree upon this idea, and that the thought is found in all forms of philosophical thought and religious concepts, as well as in theories of the respective schools of metaphysics and theology. Okay, drive safe, Maria. So the Hermetic teachings do not preach the unsustainability of the universe in any stronger terms than those more familiar to you, although their presentation of the subject may seem somewhat more startling. Anything that has a beginning and an ending must be, in a sense, unreal and untrue, and the universe comes under the rule in all schools of thought. From the absolute point of view, there is nothing real except the all, no matter what terms we may use in thinking of or discussing the subject, whether the universe be created of matter or whether it be a mental creation in the mind of the all. It is unsubstantial, non enduring, a thing of time, space, and change. We want you to realize this fact thoroughly before you pass judgment on the Hermetic conception of the mental nature of the universe. Think over any and all of the other conceptions and see whether this be not true of them. But the absolute point of view shows merely one side of the picture. The other side is the relative one. Absolute truth has been defined as things as the mind of God knows them, while relative truth is things as the highest reason of man understands them. And so, while the universe must be unreal and illusionary, a mere dream or result of meditation, nevertheless, to the finite minds forming a part of that universe and viewing it through mortal faculties. The universe is very real indeed and must be so considered. In recognizing the absolute view, we must not make the mistake of ignoring or denying the facts and phenomena of the universe as they present themselves to our mortal faculties. We are not the all, remember? To take familiar illustrations, we all recognize the fact that matter exists to our senses. We will fare badly if we do not. And yet, even our finite minds understand the scientific dictum that there is no such thing as matter from a scientific point of view. That which we call matter is held to be merely an aggregation of atoms, which atoms themselves are merely a grouping of units of force called electrons or ions, vibrating and in constant circular motion. We kick a stone and we feel the impact. It seems to be real, notwithstanding that we know it to be merely what we have stated above. But remember that our foot, which feels the impact by means of our brains, is likewise matter, so constituted of electrons, and for that matter, so are our brains. And at the best, if it were not by reason of our mind, we would not know the foot hit the stone at all. Then again, the ideal of the artist or sculptor, which he is endeavoring to reproduce in stone or on canvas, seems very real to him. So do the characters in the mind of the author or the dramatist, which he seeks to express so that others may recognize them. And if this be true in the case of our finite minds, what must be the degree of reality in the mental images created in the mind of the infinite? Oh, friends, to mortals, this universe of mentality is very real indeed. It is the only one we can ever know. Though we rise from plane to plane, higher and higher in it, to know it otherwise but actual experience, we must be the all itself. It is true that the higher we rise in the scale, the nearer to the mind of the Father we reach, the more apparent becomes the illusory nature of finite things, but not until the all finally withdraws us into itself does the vision actually vanish. So we need not dwell upon the future of the feature of illusion. Rather, let us, recognizing the real nature of the universe, seek to understand its mental laws and endeavor to use them to the best effect in our upward progress through life as we travel from plane to plane of being. The laws of the universe are nonetheless iron laws because of the mental nature. All except the all are bound by them. What is in the infinite mind of the all is real in a degree, second only to the reality itself, which is vested in the nature of the all. So do not feel insecure or afraid. We are all held firmly in the infinite mind of the all, and there is naught to hurt us or for us to fear. There is no power outside of the all to affect us, so we may rest calm and secure. There is a world of comfort and security in this realization when once attained. Then calm and peaceful do we sleep, rocked in the cradle of the deep, resting safely on the bosom of the ocean of infinite mind, which is the all. In the all, indeed, do we live and move and have our being. Matter is none the less matter to us. While we dwell on the plane of matter, although we know it to be merely an aggregation of electrons or particles of force, vibrating rapidly and gyrating around each other in the formations of atoms, the atoms in turn vibrating and gyrating forming molecules, which later in turn form larger masses of matter. Nor does matter become less matter when we follow the inquiry still further and learn from the Hermetic teachings that the force of which the electrons are but units is merely a manifestation of the mind of the all, and like all else in the universe, is purely mental in its nature. While on the plane of matter, we must recognize its phenomena. We may control matter, parentheses, as all matters of higher or lesser degree do, but we do so by applying the higher forces. We commit a folly when we attempt to deny the existence of matter in the relative aspect. We may deny its mastery over us, and rightly so, but we should not attempt to ignore it in its relative aspect, at least so long as we dwell upon its plane. Nor do the laws of nature become less constant or effective when we know them, likewise, to be merely mental creations. They are in full effect on the various planes. We overcome the lower laws by applying still higher ones, and in this way only. But we cannot escape law or rise above it entirely. Nothing but the all can escape law, and that because the all is law itself, from which all laws emerge. Okay, Regina. Regina said, I'm multitasking and will be in and out of the chat. Meanwhile, I am also listening. The most advanced masters may acquire the powers usually attributed to the gods of men, and there are countless ranks of being in the great hierarchy of life, whose being and power transcends even that of the highest masters among men, to a degree unthinkable by mortals. But even the highest master and the highest being must bow to the law and be as nothing in the eye of the all. So that if even these highest beings, whose powers exceed even those attributed by men to their gods, if even these are bound by and are subservient to law, then imagine the presumption of mortal man, of our race and grade, when he dares to consider the laws of nature as unreal. Visionary and illusory, because he happens to be able to grasp the truth that the laws are mental in nature and simply mental creations of the all. Those laws which the all intends to be governing laws are not to be defied or argued away. So long as the universe endures, will they endure. For the universe exists by virtue of these laws, which from its framework and which hold it together. The Hermetic principle of mentalism, while explaining the true nature of the universe upon the principle that all is mental, does not change the scientific conceptions of the universe, life, or evolution. In fact, science merely corroborates the Hermetic teachings. The latter merely teaches that the nature of the universe is mental, while modern science has taught that it is material, or of late, that it is energy, and that last analysis, the Hermetic teachings have no fault to find with Herbert Spencer's basic principle, which postulates the existence of an infinite and eternal energy from which all things proceed. In fact, the Hermetics recognize in Spencer's philosophy the highest outside statement of the workings of the natural laws that he have ever been promulgated, and they believe Spencer to have been a reincarnation of an ancient philosopher who dwelt in ancient Egypt, thousands of years ago, and who later incarnated as Heraclitus The Grecian philosopher who lived BC 500. I might have pronounced his name wrong, but that's the best I could do. And they regard his statement of the infinite and eternal energy as directly in the line of the Hermetic teachings, always with the addition of their own doctrine that his energy is the energy of the mind of the all. With the master key of the Hermetic philosophy, the student of Spencer will be able to unlock many doors of the inner philosophical conceptions of the great English philosopher, whose work shows the result of the preparation of his previous incarnations. His teachings regarding evolution and rhythm are in almost perfect agreement with the Hermetic teachings regarding the principle of rhythm. So the student of Hermetics need not lay aside any of his cherished scientific views regarding the universe. All he is asked to do is to grasp the underlying principle of the all is mind, and the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. He will find that the other 6 of the 7 principles will fit into the scientific knowledge and will serve to bring out obscure points and to throw light into dark corners. This is not to be wondered at. When we realize the influence of the Hermetic thought of the early philosophers of Greece, upon whose foundations of thought the theories of modern science largely rest, the acceptance of the first Hermetic principle, mentalism, is the only great point of difference between modern science and Hermetic students. And science is gradually moving toward the Hermetic position in its groping in the dark for a way out of the labyrinth into which it has wandered in its search for reality. The purpose of this lesson is to impress upon the minds of our students the fact that to all intents and purposes, the universe and its laws and its phenomena are just as real, so far as man is concerned, as they would be under the hypothesis of materialism or energyism. Under any hypothesis, the universe in its outer aspect is changing, ever flowing, and transitory, and therefore devoid of substantiality and reality. But, in parentheses, note the other pole of the truth under the same hypothesis. We are compelled to act and live as if the fleeting things were real and substantial. With this difference, always, between the various hypotheses, that under the old views, mental power was ignored as a natural force, while under mentalism, it becomes the greatest natural force. And this one difference revolutionizes life to those who understand the principle and its resulting laws and practice. So finally, students all grasp the advantage of mentalism and learn to know, use and apply the laws resulting therefrom, but do not yield to the temptation which, as the Kybalion states, overcomes the half-wise and which causes them to be hypnotized by the apparent unreality of things. The consequence being that they wander about like dream people, dwelling in a world of dreams, ignoring the practical work and life of man. The end being that they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements, by reason of their folly. Rather, follow the example of the wise, which the same authority states. Use law against laws, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Following the authority, let us avoid the half wisdom, which is folly, parentheses, which ignores the truth that mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imaginings or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Remember always, student, that transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. The above quotations are from the Kybalion and are worthy of being committed to memory by the student. We do not live in a world of dreams, but in a universe which, while relative, is real so far as our lives and actions are concerned. Our business in the universe is not to deny its existence, but to live using the laws to rise from lower to higher, living on, doing the best that we can under the circumstances arising each day, and living, so far as is possible, to our biggest ideals and ideals. The true meaning of life is not known to men on this plane, if indeed to any, but the highest authorities and our own intuitions teach us that we will make no mistake in living up to the best that is in us, so far as possible, and realizing the universal tendency in the same direction in spirit of apparent evidence to the contrary. We are all on the path, and the road leads upward ever, with frequent resting places. Read the message of the Kybalion and follow the example of the wise, avoiding the mistake of the half wise, who perish by reason of their folly. Esther I say, damn, so Alicia texted me. She's going to sleep me if I keep it up. I want to say I don't know what she's talking about. Chapter 7, the all in all. While all is the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge, the Kybalion. How often have the majority of the people heard repeated the statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all, and how little have they suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these carelessly uttered words. The commonly used expression is a survival of the ancient Hermetic maxim quoted above. As the Kybalion says, to him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. And this being so, let us seek this truth, the understanding of which means so much. In this statement of truth, this Hermetic maxim is concealed one of the greatest philosophical, scientific, and religious truths. We have given you the Hermetic teaching regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. As the Kybalion says in the passage quoted above, all is in the all. But note also the correlated statement that it is equally true that the all is in all. This apparently contradictory statement is reconcilable under the law of paradox. It is, moreover, an exact Hermetic statement of the relations existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen how all is in the all. Now let us examine the other aspect of the subject. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in remaining within, inherent, abiding within its universe, and in every part, particle, unit, or combination within the universe. This statement is usually illustrated by the teachers by a reference of the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the students to form a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form. The favorite example being that of the author or the dramatist forming an idea of his characters, or a painter or a sculptor forming an image of an ideal that he wishes to express by his art. In each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence and being solely within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, dramatist, painter, or sculptor, is, in a sense, eminent in it, remaining within or abiding within. Let me stop right there. Hello there, Trinity. Good to see you. I want to look this word up. One thing I've learned, you run across a word and you don't know the meaning, don't go past that word. And you don't have to read the words, just so you can sound like you know what you're talking about, because it's always good to know what you're talking about if you're going to be talking. And I want to know oh, 1 minute. Give me a minute, y'all. Let me cut that up because I had it turned down. I don't want to take a picture of it. Oh, so it does pronounce like the word imminent, as in time, but it's spelled IMMANENT. Uh, and the imminent, existing, operating, or remaining within. It's inherent, like God is inside of you. Of or relating to the pantheistic conception of God as being present throughout the universe. So it's in you. That's what that means. Kind of like when you know what words mean when you're reading, then you can kind of understand what you're reading, even though it sounds kind of, you know, kind of off. Okay. So, to take a modern example, let us say that Othello, and I'm probably going to mess up all these people names, y'all. Ain't no need of me playing. Ego and Hamlet, Lear, Richard III existed merely in the mind of Shakespeare at the time of their conception or creation. And yet, Shakespeare also existed within each of these characters, giving them their vitality, spirit, and action. Whose is the spirit of the characters that we know as Macawber, Oliver Twist, Uriah Heep? Is it Dickens? Or have each of these characters a personal spirit independent of their creator? Have the Venus of Medici, the Sistine Madonna, the Apollo Belvedere, spirits and reality of their own, or do they represent the spiritual and mental power of their creators? The law of paradox explains that both propositions are true, viewed from the proper viewpoints. Macabre is both macabre and yet Dickens. And again, while macabre may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with macabre. Man, like macabre, may exclaim, "The spirit of my creator is inherent within me, and yet I am not he." How different this from the shocking half-truth so vociferously announced by certain of the half-wise who fill the air with their raucous cries of, "I am God." Imagine poor Macaweber. I don't know how I'm saying this man's name. I done messed it up, y'all. Or the sneaky Uriah Heep crying, "I am Dickens." Or some of the lowly clods in one of Shakespeare's plays, eloquently announcing that "I am Shakespeare." The all is the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the all. And still, the wonder remains that though the earthworm exists merely as a lowly thing, created and having its being solely within the mind of the all, yet the all is immanent in the earthworm and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery than this of all in the all and the all in all? Now, I don't know if y'all need a minute to grasp that, but that's pretty deep, if you can grasp what is being said. And it's that paradoxical thing that they speak of, because basically what it's saying, like the earthworm, okay, the all is in the earthworm because the all created the earthworm. The earthworm is in the all, but the earthworm is not the all. But the all is the earthworm because of its creation of it. And the earthworm is a creation as a result of the creation, or I should say the creator. Now, I don't know if you got that or if that sounds crazy. It's five left shoes. But marinate on that a little bit and then play it back. I think you'll enjoy once the light goes off. Deep. The student will, of course, realize that the illustrations given above are necessarily imperfect and inadequate, for they represent the creation of the mental images in the finite minds, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind, and the difference between the two poles separates them. And yet, it is merely a matter of degree. The same principle is in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each. As above, so below. As below, so above. And in the degree that man realizes the existence of the indwelling spirit eminent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. This is what spiritual development means: the recognition, realization, and manifestation of the spirit within us. Try to remember this last definition, that of spiritual development. It contains the truth of true religion. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancement of beings in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter, the highest being separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all. And upward and onward along the scale of life, everything is moving. All are on the path, whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward, in spite of all seeming contradictory appearances. Such is the message of the Illuminati. The Hermetic teaching concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspect of being, projects its will towards its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage of involution, in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermetists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. If instead of wrapped, we use the word rapt, R-A-P-T, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. And so instead of using wrapped with the W, they go to wrapped, R-A-P-T. And perhaps y'all know what that means. And I try to look over the reading so that I can see if it's anything I don't know and stuff, but I guess I missed this when I scanned through it. Because I do that, believe it or not. Okay. Rapt is completely fascinated by what one is seeing or hearing. And let me just see if that pronunciation.
Wrapped.
Yep, it's the same. It's just wrapped with a T instead of an ED. Okay. The involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of the divine energy, just as the evolutionary state is called the indrawing. The extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a coming home idea being held in all of the Hermetic teachings. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibrations become lower and lower until finally the urge ceases and the return swing begins. But there is this difference that while in the outpouring, the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole, yet from the beginning of the evolutionary or indrawing stage, there is manifested the law of individualization. That is, the tendency to separate into units of force, so that finally that which left the all as unindividualized energy returns to its source as countless highly developed units of life, having risen higher and higher in the scale by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. The ancient Hermetists used the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all. The word contemplation also being frequently employed. But the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine intention, and that's attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root meaning to reach out, to stretch out. And so that the act of attention is really a mental reaching out, extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. The Hermetic teachings regarding the process of evolution are that the all have meditated upon the beginning of the creation, having thus established the material foundations of the universe, having thought it into existence, then gradually awakens or arouses from the meditation, and in so doing starts into manifestation the process of evolution. On the material, mental, and spiritual planes, successfully and in order. Thus, the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross. The units spring into being. The combinations begin to form. Life appears and manifests in higher and higher forms. And mind becomes more and more in evidence. The vibrations constantly becoming higher. In short, the entire process of evolution in all of its phases begins and proceeds according to the established laws of the indrawing process. All of this occupies eons upon eons of man's time, each eon containing countless millions of years, but yet the illumined informed us that the entire creation, including involution and evolution of an universe, is but as the twinkle of the eye to the all. At the end of countless cycles of eons of time, the all withdraws its attention, its contemplation and meditation of the universe. For the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn into the all from which it emerged. But mystery of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated, but it is infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are merged. Such is the report of the illumined. Hey, I am Jay. The above illustration of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is, of course, but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a finite example. And yet, as below, so above, the difference is merely in degree. And just as the all aroses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man in time cease from manifesting upon the material plane and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the divine ego. There is one more matter of which we desire to speak in this lesson, and that comes very near to an invasion of the metaphysical field of the speculation Although our purpose is merely to show the futility, no, that's wrong. The futility of the futility, I'm sorry, of such speculation. We allude to the question which inevitably comes to the mind of all thinkers who have ventured to seek the truth. The question is, why does the all create universes? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the gist of the inquiry. Men have striven hard to answer this question, but still there is no answer worthy of the name. Some have imagined that the all had something to gain by it, but this is absurd. For what could the all gain that it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that the all wished something to love, and others that is created for pleasure or amusement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power. All puerile explanations and ideas belonging to the childish period of thought. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create by reason of its own internal nature, its creative instinct. This idea is in advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea of the all being compelled by anything, internal or external. If its internal nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all. And so, accordingly, that part of the proposition falls. And yet, the all does create and manifest and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in doing so. And they said, in so doing. And it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree it must have what would correspond to an inner nature or creative instinct in man, with correspondingly infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act, and it would not desire to act unless it obtained satisfaction thereby. And all of these things would belong to the inner nature and might be postulated as existing according to the law of correspondence. But still, we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from any influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of difficulty, and the difficulty that lies at the root of the problem. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatsoever for the all to act, for a reason implies a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause, at which time the principle is set into motion. So you see, the matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable. Just as we say, the all merely is. So we are compelled to say that the all acts because it acts. At the last, the all is all reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself. And it may be said truthfully that the all is its own reason, its own law, its own act. Or still further, the all, its reason, its act, its law are one, all being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, the answer is locked up in the inner self, of the all, along with its secret of being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to the aspect of the all, which may be spoken of as the aspect of becoming. Back of that aspect is the aspect of being, in which all laws are lost in law. All principles merge into principle, and the all principle and being are identical, one and the same. Therefore, metaphysical speculation on this point is futile. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question and also the absurdity of the ordinary answers of metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest to our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachings have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principle of correspondence to the question, with the result of the inner nature conclusion, still the legends have it that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced students, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and saying not a word, indicating that there was no answer. But then he may have intended to apply the axiom of his philosophy that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, believing that even his advanced students did not possess the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes possessed the secret, he failed to impart it, and so far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it. And where the great Hermes hesitated to speak, what mortal may dare to teach? But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem, if indeed there be an answer, the truth remains that while all, it is equally true that the all is in all. The teaching on this point is emphatic, and we may add the concluding words of the quotation: to him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. And that concludes the reading from our Kybalion today. That was some real good teaching. And, I really wished if you didn't get it, if it was kind of confusing and my reading wasn't so perfect that, I was, having to repeat words and stuff, just go back and listen whenever you get an opportunity. And, I believe that you will really start grasping what is being said. I'm going to come on camera for a moment to say hello before I go into the next subject. Hello, everybody. I like to come on and let you see me, and I like to be seen. How you guys doing? I thought that was a very, very, very deep lesson. And I think that learning the 7 Hermetic principles are deep because there's something that you would take your time with as an individual and grasp and develop in you what is being said. And I think if we can get a handle on the principle of things, then we can stay in honor as we do whatever we do in life. Because one of the things of manifestation and for things to happen for you is for you to be in honor. That's just a law of nature of law. And if you're not in honor, you may get things, no doubt about it. But then the consequence that goes into the cause and effect, and we'll be talking about that a little later, the consequence of obtaining things when it's not in honor is, are you willing to sacrifice what you may have to give up to have those things? This is a world right now that's absolutely crazy. People are doing any and everything. They don't care what they say and who they talk about, what they talk about, how it makes others feel. People honestly don't care. And they don't understand that this is actually a worldwide forum. And these are things where before, when people said people did horrible things to them and others just couldn't believe it, it just wasn't even imaginable. These people are actually leaving blueprints of saying and doing some of the most flagrant and egregious things. It is so very sad. And one day, may not be today, may not even be tomorrow, but one day it could come back to haunt them. I don't know if you all keep up with what's going on in the news, and I don't really look at the news, but as I'm strolling through YouTube sometime, I see that the rapper's trial started in Atlanta. And one of the things that was allowed in his trial is lyrics to songs. All he's doing is writing songs. Now, he may have done some of those things because some people have, but the majority of people that's writing this stuff, they got their Glock in their nine and they gonna do this. Them people, they may have had a Glock in their hand and a nine, and that could be all in the same. They AK on their mind and all that. But they ain't killed all these people that they rapping and singing about and talking about what they doing to people. But those things are coming back to haunt him to this day. They're allowing other people's lyrics to come into his trial to be used against him. It may sound cute and it may sound big and it may sound funny. And I see people when I'm, perusing Facebook with money, like they have the money phones and they have money spread out everywhere. And, whether it's real money or fake money, it's a reason to give somebody without money to want to come hunt you down and look you up. It's so many different things that if we really understood principle, it's a lot of things we wouldn't do. And we wouldn't do it not only because we're maturing, but we wouldn't do it because we're also teaching children behind us that's looking up to us. We're in a generation of children that have no respect for anything or anyone. Whose fault is that? And that leads me into the section that Regina was talking about, the breakdown of the family, because our families are in the most outrageous condition. And it's really, really, really sad because we've been exploited for so very long. Since 1492, when we were overthrown at the Alhambra. And then when they journeyed over here to the Americas and started calling us Indians. Now we're not even that. Now we're just niggers or coloreds or African Americans. And we have no history. But once you have been captured, conquered, then the victor gets to tell the story. The victor is the one who won. The victory was theirs. So they get to tell the story and erase your story. We told our story by word of mouth, passing it down generation to generation. Most of us won't even talk to one another, let alone to the younger children or the younger children speaking to us. There was a time growing up where, we checked on even our grandmothers. We may not have had no long conversation with her, but you might have called her every now and then just to say hi. Or your grandfather, if they were alive, your aunts and uncles, just to say hello. Those kind of things are unheard of today. People really don't even realize they have family outside of their immediate household, some people. And they certainly don't know all sides of their family when we used to gather at each other's homes as families. And everybody knew the cousins on both sides. They even claimed cousins. that kind of stuff you don't see anymore. You don't see. And after that situation where they shut us down and divided the family, where now people are so afraid, even though it's been cleared and mandated that you don't have to do this and don't have to do that, people still don't want to, they say, go around their family because they don't want to make anybody sick. So sad how we catch on to things that keep us divided, and we refuse to come together on things that can help us be a better people and to tackle our real enemy. We tend to think that we are each other's enemy. And as long as we participate in the game and the behavior, we are. But if we get to the root of the problem, then we'll realize that everything is planned years ahead. As I stated about Henry Kissinger back in 1972, and even a little before that, when Margaret Sanger came out with birth control, and they decided that it was too much to rid the living, so we will keep them from coming. And if you look at the statistics, the most babies that are being aborted look like us. And everybody else is having 8, 9, 10 children. And if we see an Asiatic woman with 6 or 7 children, we want to talk her down like she's the worst thing that ever walked the face of this earth. Times are gone where we used to actually help mothers. I'm talking about as a community. Because there was a time in our history where the fathers were sent out of the home. And if the father was in the home, then there was no help for the family. And we seem to be the only group of people that happened to. And a lot of that is because we refuse to read and learn history. And there are so many people out there telling so many stories, and they get you caught up in so many different belief systems. You got to let go of whatever you think you know and just open yourself up to learning something new and form your own belief systems. I'm not saying you can't believe in whatever you want to believe in, but make sure that's what you want to believe in and not something somebody steered you to. Not me, not anybody. Do the work. A lot of us want the gratification, but we don't want to put in the work. And nowadays people are just, we've always had people that was robbing and shooting and, getting rid of people's lives. We've always had that. But because this is the information age and we have access, then we see it more. I saw a documentary I suggest everybody look at. It was very mind-blowing to me, but very believable. And I believe it 100%. And it's called the Trayvon Martin hoax. It's on YouTube. I think everybody should look at that with an open mind. Yeah, the good thing about when they came up with the pandemic, and some call it the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, that's what they did. One good thing they did is they started putting cases on television, YouTube. Therefore, we can see what's happening in the courtrooms. And a lot of people won't even look because if they're looking for sensationalism. They're not looking to learn the procedure, to see how it goes, to hear the words that they use, write them down. They all mean something. It's relative when they object, what things they're objecting to. It's very, very, very interesting. And a lot of things people believe does not apply. That doesn't apply to me. Okay, it might not apply to you today, but all you got to do is keep living and have children, and they have children, or you have a life outside of your home. You could even be in your home, and things will come and visit you when you're not even bothering it. You know, a lot of people say, I don't do anything, I don't do anything, I don't go nowhere, but you can find yourself in some of the worst controversies just being at home, not doing anything, not going anywhere. We're in a time where nothing really matters. And to be honest, it's always been this way. It's just that we didn't have access to the knowledge of it like we do today. We didn't have the things that we're using and to make it instant for all to see and to know. It's ridiculous how we use this platform to tear down and not to edify and not to do better and help more people become entrepreneurs, because business is what life is all about, having your own. And most of us could not have a business because we're not prepared. We don't know how. We were trained to work well under the direction of others. We were not trained or educated as humans should be to know how to develop and use your creativity and make your own. And then we have the fear factor because we're certainly ruled by fear. Most of us won't say anything, won't get involved in anything because we don't want anybody looking at us to see maybe what they'll discover about us. But trust me, when you put yourself on this platform, if you make a comment, if you do an emoji, if you just not in the clouds, and it's really sad that people will allow themselves to be in the clouds because of fear of what might happen to them or what one will say about them. These people pride themselves on their numbers and how many people are there and what they're given to. And I think that's really sad. And ain't no need to me mine. I would love for more people to be grasping this knowledge. But hey, all it takes is one person to hear something. They're going to share it with somebody. If they never tune in, the person they share it with may be one to say, let me just look this up, what they're talking about. And take that and get involved and start looking further and further. And then their creative juices in the mind will start working. And they may go on to be whatever it was purposed for them to be. Because at some point in your life, you know what you believe to be your purpose. And a lot of our men and young boys, it used to be they wanted to be basketball and football players. Now all of them want to be musicians and they want to be rappers. And they can see that they're killing rappers because they're controlling the rappers. The rappers got to sing this destructive music or your music ain't going anywhere. If you get up and sing about some beautiful stuff, just like I'm teaching about real life things, nobody is interested. 5 people are here. My numbers go down every time I do a show. But the people that matter are here. And I know, hello to y'all in the bushes and the clouds and the trees, on the beach, in the boat, wherever you may be. I appreciate you all too. But my numbers are slowly going down. But destruction, how to hurt somebody, how to make a fat person go on a diet that ain't going to last, that's going to be in depression next week. You know, all those kind of things. It's really sad how 1 minute people are standing up for women and, oh, against bullying. The next minute, they're exploiting women, showing when they have a weak moment, and everybody's laughing and giving. That's what life is all about, after all. It's just entertainment. This is YouTube. But what I like about YouTube, you can find anything you're looking for on YouTube. And that's what most people do. I don't fit in a particular box. Sometimes I be wanting to at certain people, but then I can't really at people because I don't really do what they do and talk about what they talk about, although we may cover some of the same things. So however this thing goes for me, that's how it goes. That's who I am. It is what it is. I do this in hopes to help uplift and spark the mind of somebody who may not be all the way on the other side, and they're teetering on the line and they want to do something. But in order to do something, you have to really do something. You can't just sit there and wish it to come or hope it come or look at other people and say, I know I can do better than them, but you're not doing anything, at least they're doing. It's not about comparing anything outside of you to anything outside of you. You have to work within yourself. And a lot of us have to heal. And that's why I went back to doing the Toxic Parents book. And, whosoever will, they'll look, they'll listen, or they won't. And it is well. Because everybody ain't going to make it. No matter how good game they talk, no matter how they sound, everybody are not doing what they pretend to be. And so everybody ain't going to get this. Everybody don't want it. And I respect that. I respect that for all. Hey, Crystal, good to see you. Yeah, I respect that. But what we're going to talk about on this phase before I go, and that is, Regina had asked a question, what do we think that's broke down the family and things, and why men and women of Asiatic descent are so against each other and what it's about. And I was looking for some, beginnings. And this is one article I ran across that I thought was very interesting. And this is one that has plagued our community and the community of the poor. See, we have to look at things realistically. In my opinion, there's only but one race, and that's the human race. But unfortunately, in the systems set up, they have divided us by race. Call us crayons, and we answer to it here in America. Because here in America, we don't call other people the brown people or the yellow people. We just black and proud, and they're white and rule. That's what we say. That sounds so inhumane, but because that's what was put in us, that's all we know to say. But I know that we're all people, and we're actually on levels, status, class, and it's the have and the have-nots. And most of us are the have-nots. And I don't understand at any situation, point in time, why the have-nots are so many, but yet ruled by so few. Because so many are afraid to stand on their square. And it's amazing to me how these people in this metaverse, YouTube land, hear somebody's saying, and it does. I hear them using mine a lot. It sounds good. Yeah, but they don't use the other line, and it makes for a good storyline, a great movie or something. But that's not true. But they like, it sounds good. Now I hear everybody using Dewberry's standing on business. What is standing on business? And don't none of them own a business. Because this YouTube business that they call it, they're not making money. They're getting cash apps and they're getting super chats. So they're getting more than me, but they're not making YouTube money. I know that from the algorithm and the way YouTube now have to scrutinize my videos. And I know I'm not saying or doing none of the stuff these people saying or doing. So I understand how it works. But it looks good. It sounds good. Makes for a good storyline. Maybe a movie or something. but they ain't got it. And see, when it's not yours, you can say anybody's saying. It don't hit the same. Everybody sounds stupid. I even heard a European talking about, he was narrating about the demons in the music industry. I actually heard that man say standing on business. Now, people know they didn't start saying that until Charleston White and Dewberry started talking about standing on business. Not that you can't stand on business, I guess. And there is a method to standing on your square, because we are the Moors and the compass, sacred geometry, just like circle is the church. Everything goes in cycles. Well, just like there is a 360 in the cycles, it's the same in the angles, and the circle in the square is yet one and the same, just different forms. That's what we're learning about polarity. That's what we're learning about mentalism. That's what we're learning about the law of correspondence. That's what we're learning about vibration. As we start learning the principles in which all things, a law, religion, whatever you want to call it, is formed, you stay true to who you are. Don't be who somebody else need or wants you to be. Believe what Toothless believe, because Toothless believe it. Now, if we see things in like manner and we're in the same place, that's good. That's called continuity, and that's moving forward. But don't just do it for that reason. You have to live with you. Mentalism, all is in the mind of all. We got to really start learning how to navigate through this system. No matter what age you are, I had to wait till I'm 65, although I've been on this journey for the last 10 years. But I'm learning more and more how things actually work. And it is really something when you really see that almost everything we've been taught has been in error. It's been backwards. And you don't have to do anything but start dealing with yourself. You don't have to do anything outside of yourself. Start learning yourself. Start forgiving yourself. Start healing yourself. A lot of us lie to ourselves, and we pretend, and we get off into a lot of other things so we don't have to deal with our things. And then a lot of people hear you tell your story or hear you tell what I'm saying, and then they say, but you're not like that. Every time you point a finger, all of these point back. Those three at the bottom and that thumb. It comes back to you. And it's almost like the stack deck. Playing the race card, as they love to call it. So if I'm playing the race card, then I guess you're playing the other 53 stacked against me. Same when you start pointing your finger. Michael said, in order to make a change, you got to start with the person in the mirror, in the camera, however you want to phrase it today. You got to start with you. And nobody might not want to hear nothing nobody else has to say, because after all, we're adults, right? Yeah, we grow physiologically, but in all honesty, a lot of us don't mature because we've been hurt by so many different things. Our beginning is how it started. Some of us had a beautiful beginning. Some of us don't remember our beginning. And some of us, our beginning is very painful. And we remember oh so well. It was very hard to function today. But at some point in one's life, you got to come to the realization that this is what it is. And in order for it to get better, I got to do something different. Whatever that something is. Nobody can say what you need to do for you but you. And even you may not know. Sometimes it's so painful for real, you just can't even get out the bed. And then for some people, they can't stay in the bed. It's so painful, they got to be moving at all times. They can't even stop because they don't want to think. They don't want to feel. Some people escape through using drugs. Some escape through drinking. Some shopping. Some sex. Some YouTube, IG, Twitter, Facebook. Because sometimes that's the only interaction they have with other people. Some have to have interactions with others. And then some just want to be alone. So it's all kinds. But it all comes back to the basic principles of life, being in honor. It all comes back to love, to truth, to peace, to freedom, and to justice is one want for themselves and their offspring. We want to have things, but a lot of things are in place for us not to have things. We can't have what most Americans have when this is our land, but we can't own it. It's got to be a reason for that. We've had cities, states that were flourishing, and then they ceased to exist, and the government allowed. Some even say participated. I wasn't there, but those that are living, and we only have one or two that are still living from some of these towns, tell their story and their truth. And so anybody can say you're lying and giving out false information, but that doesn't make it true because somebody said it, because the witness was here to tell the story. And we've heard them tell the story. They were bombed, burned out in Oklahoma. Those things were really real. And then we keep talking about what's going to happen from another country. No other country in this universe is going to come here and do anything that's not allowed. That's not going to happen. But around this time of year, they start hitting us with fear so that we can vote the way they want us to vote. And most of us voting don't even know what we're voting for and why we're voting. All we say is we're going to vote because people died for us to vote. Our vote has never counted, but if you're going to make it count, make it count. Know something about the person you're choosing. You got to do that. And you got to do that as a family. You got to talk to people you know so that if and when these people make it to office and they're not giving any truth to their word, then you have the power we do as citizens of the state in which we live to call it out and bring them to task. We have that right. And we need to take advantage of our rights while we yet have them. Because the way things are going, too many of us are not trying to learn truth. We'd rather destroy each other rather than help each other. It is so very sad. I look at some very good interviews on YouTube of actual Asiatic men that are being men. And all of them that I've heard, they all love, love, love women. It's only the men around here that hate women that I've heard. And I'm sure it's others, other places. But definitely most of the men on this YouTube sector that we find ourselves attached to have a strong, strong hatred with women. And I would say that it's possible that they had a strong, strong issue with the woman that gave them life. And for whatever reason, nothing was ever resolved. And so, unfortunately, we all as women have to pay. A lot of women in this sector have issues with themselves, and I would venture to say their fathers and even some their mothers. And it's unfortunate. But you can see it, you can hear it, you can think what you want to think. I'm a person, I don't pass judgment, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to do that. But I don't have nowhere for you to go. I ain't no better or different than you. I've had better circumstances than most. But we were poor as they come, like everybody else. We had parents that didn't make it seem like we were poor. We didn't know how poor really was. And you still don't know because the majority of the people in our communities only make to $40,000. Imagine that in a world now where bread is almost $3. Some people work their whole year and don't make over $20,000. And they go to work faithfully and honestly every day. And everybody think everything is funny and a joke. Some people can't afford to have life insurance because they can't even afford to have health insurance come out of their paychecks because they only make $8 and $9 an hour. Everything is funny on YouTube until it's you. Then it's not so funny. But let me go on and tell what I want to say about this, and then we can call it a night. So Regina posed a question, and for the 6 of you that's in here, if you care to answer, I'm just going to pose the question. What are some of the things that you all think that causes the breakdown in our family structure? Because there was a time that we believed that we had a family structure that we knew of. Some of us may have never known that family structure because it started changing after 1964. So some of you may have still had a family structure, but some of you may have never seen the family structure of the mom, the dad, and the children in the home. But some of the things that you guys think that may have caused the destruction of the family: Asiatic family, known as the Black family, African American. And I'm going to read you an article that I found, and it was on a world website. And I'm going to go back off camera because my reading and my vision and all the stumbling and stuff, I'd rather be stumbling and not seen than stumbling and being seen. And that's kind of really, it's bad enough when you stumble and you don't see the person, but it gets a little bit too much to bear when you're stumbling and you see them stumbling. So I just want to come on camera because you know that I am a hands-on individual and I appreciate you guys showing up for me. So certainly I can be seen to let you guys know that I appreciate you all being here. Here we go. There's an article I found on AmericanProgress.org, and the article was written June 17th, 2022, and it is learning from the United States painful history of child support. And the author is Kyle Ross, and this is a very good article, and it has a lot of things that we can draw subjects from for other days. It says, this Father's Day, federal and state governments must consider the history of child support and how it can better serve poor Black families. So, you know, it's amazing how people don't ever want us to talk about Asiatic families and the things that has happened to us and how we're being affected by it. But we can go on the internet and find everybody else talking about it. Isn't it amazing how they don't want us to educate each other, but we have to learn what's about us from people that are not us? Isn't that amazing? I find it fascinating to say the least. But Kevin Johnson, and I'm going to show this picture. so that you guys can understand. And I always put things on word form so it's easier for me to see it on the computer and read it. Okay, so it starts out Kevin Johnson, far left, and Milan Woodard, second from left, listened with a group of other men during a father support center session in Missouri in 2015. Johnson and Woodard both accrued child support debt while incarcerated or in a program at the nonprofit that helps them find a job and develop child support payment and parenting strategies. And that was by Getty Whitney Curtis of the Washington Post. They don't have many other pictures, so I'm going to take it down from there. And if you guys would rather that, I would leave up the things that I have that I can put up, y'all can let me know if y'all would rather have it up on the screen. It says the United States Child Support Program served 13.2 million children in 2021, with the goal of collecting money from parents, including those who don't live with their children. Since the program's inception in 1975, so y'all, this program that we know it as has only been in around since 1975. It has been closely intertwined with America's views on public assistance and race. Its implementation shaped to respond to the backlash against inclusive economic support for poor families. In order to create an approach to child support that truly increases children's economic stability, the federal and state governments must move beyond this backlash. This Father's Day, policymakers must consider the history of the child support program and how best to ensure that it helps, not harms, families. Now, listen to this, because all of this, they say, started with us as far as the breakdown of the families after Johnson, before becoming president, um, made the deal with the pastors and with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and where they made welfare accessible to us women. But the only criteria is we couldn't have fathers in the home. The weird thing about that is that nobody had fathers in the home, but every year or every other year, mama was always coming up with a new baby. And so then people want to know, how is it that you have these babies, but you have no daddies and you don't know where they are? But one of the criteria was that the daddy couldn't be in the home. Again, a part of that great plan of the great man, Henry Kissinger. Okay. The child support program started off as a federal state partnership with the goal of reducing expenditures of the aid to families with dependent children. We used to call it here in Texas AFDC program. From 1935 to 1996, AFDC was a primary vehicle for economic support to families with children. The child support program collected money from non-custodial parents, most of whom are fathers, and that's the ones that the children do not live with, whose children relied on AFDC benefits. But this support did not go to children. Listen to this, y'all. Instead, it was used to reimburse the government for AFDC benefits. For example, if a court ordered a parent to pay $100 every month in child support to a household that received $100 in AFDC, and that's money. AFDC is when you got the welfare check. It's not the food stamp program, which in Texas is now known as the SNAP program. I don't know if it's SNAP all over, but it is in Texas. But AFDC is the money, the check that you get for the children. And that happens to be separate from the food stamp program. But with the AFDC comes what they call Medicaid, and that's an insurance policy. So it's like you have health insurance. It's not life insurance, but it will help you with medical. So listen to what they did with the child support program. But this is really something. Okay, so it said the AFDC money, the state kept the entirety of the $100 child support payment and shared it with the federal government. This welfare cost recovery effort remains in effect today. So while you're getting welfare, and if you start getting child support, now it becomes welfare recovery. So I know during a time back in my days when I didn't have a job and I had my young son and we had received AFDC, when we started getting our child support, you had to elect whether to get the child support or the AFDC. And of course, the AFDC stopped back in my day. That was back in the 80s. Okay. So though many states do not pass through a portion of these payments to custodial parents and children in 2021, and they said do now pass through, not do not. It said many states do now pass through a portion of these payments to custodial parents and children. In 2021, the government kept an estimated $1.3 billion in child support. This approach to cost recovery essentially requires poor, non custodial parents to repay the federal government for the minimum cash and aid their child received, providing neither parents nor children with economic security. States should end these policies and refocus enforcement efforts toward providing services such as job training and placement, thereby lessening the punitive targeting of low income men and black men in particular. One moment. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that this chat wasn't moving and I wasn't aware of it because it's not moving. So, okay. And increasing the likelihood that child support program lead to actual economic benefits for poor children and families. Receiving child support payments is often essential for custodial parents' families, considering roughly 25% of them live in poverty. But targeting and punishing people who cannot pay does not help anyone. For the most part, the law does not consider whether parents avoid paying child support because they do not want to or because they cannot afford to. The debt accrues either way. Nearly all who are in arrears over child support have very low incomes. In one study in California, 80% of those in arrears had annual incomes below $20,000. So, oh, that's good. So, Alicia, imagine how high they say the cost of living is in California. And they say that 80% of those in arrears had annual incomes below $20,000. Annual, of course, we all know meaning yearly. And 60% had annual incomes below $10,000. As debt grows and enforcement measures are used, employment, housing, and familial bonds are all put at a risk, ruining the credit scores and suspending the licenses of low income, non custodial parents can make it harder for them to achieve the financial stability they need to provide for their children, while incarceration makes it impossible. More families, economic security. It says the child support system is built on a troubled history. The current approach to enforcement of child support payments is linked to the racist cultural history surrounding the so called deserving poor, which has typically excluded black people. Over the course of the 1950s and 60s, AFDC became more readily available to black families, which brought increased scrutiny of the program, and in particular, black mothers. Isn't that something? In 1965, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, and you guys should look this guy up because he's really a character. And I'm talking about his history over the years that he had the positions that he held. Then serving in the U.S. Department of Labor as Assistant Secretary, spearheaded the release of the Negro Family, the case for national action. This federal report linked the abundance of women led households in the black population to high rates of poor performance, crime, and welfare dependency, and would shift the narrative on poverty from tackling structural barriers to focusing on a dysfunctional family narrative for decades to come. Then presidential candidate Ronald Reagan amplified this effect on the campaign trail in 1976. In an effort to gain support for defunding safety net programs, he villainized women who relied on public benefits. In 1986, CBS aired a special report titled The Vanishing Family: Crisis in Black America, in which host Bill Moyers spoke with separate black parents in Newark, New Jersey, and highlighted the high rates of out of wedlock births in the community. One of the parents featured a man who had fathered multiple children with different women and did not support any of them, stating that the mothers could rely on welfare. The report's inclusion of the man reinforced well known stereotypes and gained national attention, winning numerous awards. They're winning awards off of this kind of stuff and being shown in public schools. It created enough outrage over so called deadbeat dads to inspire congressional action in the form of the Bradley Amendment, which forbade forgiveness of child support debt. So, this is why they will not forgive child support debt, because of one man in Newark, New Jersey, who had multiple children by different women, and he said they can rely on welfare, not the women themselves and their children and the struggles they were having, based on this gentleman. With the federal government and popular culture explicitly linking poverty, the need for federal economic support, and the structure of black families, the term welfare became racialized. In contemporary survey responses, majorities of white people responded that too much money is being spent on welfare and not enough on assistance to the poor. So now they're separating the poor from we're on welfare and they are the poor. Okay? Despite those two concepts being essentially synonymous, and the fact that most people lifted above the poverty line by the social safety net are white. The economic support for poor families that began earlier in the 20th century contracted as the policymakers of the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s bought into the idea of restricting access to AFDC and punishing non custodial fathers. So they made it harder for the mothers to get the benefit, and then they punished the fathers, no matter what his situation was or is. And then we Some of us, as mothers, did not help his situation or ours because we played right into the drama. Enforcement measures target black men with economic and, and carceral punishment. From the 1970s to the 1990s, the federal government implemented multiple harsh enforcement measures within the child support program. These enforcement policies, which are still in effect today, range from garnishing up to two-thirds of a non-custodial parent's wages and suspending their driver's and professional license to reporting their child support debt to credit bureaus and even incarcerating them. These policies have a long history of punishing people for being black and poor. Everybody can have this conversation, can make rules about it, but if we talk about it, we're trying to be indifferent, is what we're told. We need to start talking about it. We can't keep on talking about we don't like what's going on YouTube and everywhere else, but we don't want to talk about the real issues that face us as a people. And we're talking about systems. We're not talking about individuals unless you're just talking from your own experience. And that's the only place we can speak from is our knowledge. We don't necessarily have to tell our stories, but we definitely know from our own experiences how these things affect us. Overall, roughly 15% of all black fathers in larger U.S. cities have been incarcerated at some point for non payment of child support, compared with 5% of fathers overall. So 15% of Asiatic men out of 5% of all other people there are. Amazing. Some states and localities have taken enforcement even further. One example is Lee County, Mississippi, Deadbeat Dad Operation, in which a local newspaper compiled a list of the names of parents who owed child support, publicly shaming those who were behind on payments. Police apprehended a number of the parents who did not come forward, jailing them until they could make arrangements to pay. Unfortunately, raids like this happen across the country, often around Father's Day. So, I mean, men might not like Father's Day as much as we think they do if this is how they're treating the fathers. The Obama administration made an attempt to begin moving away from this punitive system, issuing a 2016 final rule from the Office of the Child Support Enforcement. This rule required states to take more rigorous steps to consider non custodial parents' ability to pay when determining child support orders, as well as whether to file civil contempt cases for missing payments, which could result in jail time. It also opened opportunities for modifying how much incarcerated parents would pay. Given the varying interpretations of the final rule, states have since implemented a range of policies. However, the rule did not go far to ensure that the child support program properly acknowledges and assists poor non custodial parents. The system's heavily reliance on punitive enforcement measures keep it from realizing its true potential as a family service. Black parents in or near poverty make up the majority of parents who are missing payments, and parents with low incomes are more likely to pay little or no child support. Efforts to increase collections for children should center around ways to provide more resources to parents so they have the ability to meet their obligations. One way to do this to emphasize providing employment services to parents in need of good jobs, which some states already view as the best path forward. These services have been shown, when they have sufficient resources, to increase non custodial parents' earnings, increase payment compliance, and even improve attitudes toward the child support program. Providing employment services would require reworking the funding rules at the OCSE to make sure all states get enough federal help to manage successful programs. Additionally, states should implement full pass-through policies to guarantee that all collections go to children, as well as disregard payments from income so that they do not affect custodial parents' public assistance benefits, putting an end to the legacy of child support welfare cost recovery. So, if you just look at this and remember how it used to be that the guys didn't want to pay child support because they didn't want their money going to other men, and she just get her hair fixed and her nails done, and their children are not being taken care of. But imagine you have a system that you're paying child support, and in all honesty, she's being forced to remain on public assistance because she's having to choose. And if she give up the public assistance, then she doesn't have the Medicaid. And if she stays on public assistance, then now the money you're paying is going back to pay for those things, and the child still is not getting the support. So really, what is child support all about? Why is it that we, the people, and I'm talking about we, the citizens of the state in which we live, we, the people, can't get together, man and woman, and come up with a solution and stick to that agreement, that contract, that plan? A lot of things we allow others to do and dictate because we're not willing to do ourselves. Again, we're going to have to start acting as adults. That's why we treat it like children a lot, because we don't take responsibility. We accept what they say to be true. They is whoever told you this is how it is. So you can make they be whomever told you this is how it is, wherever you got your information, because most people didn't get their information from going and doing the research. If they would, they could find it's different ways and more than one way to skin a cat. And you could probably do it differently. You would do the same thing. You would take care of your family, but you would do it in a manner that would help you, the child, and the other parent. Billy said, Crystal Williams, how are you? I am soaking it all in. And Phyllis said, so Alicia, so am I. And Phyllis said, I am double my task I have before me. And then she said, because that's too much work. Yep, that's what it is. A lot of people, it's so much really that we think we cannot do. And that's because we've been put in a fear mode and we've been told that we can't do it. Just imagine if everybody, especially men, since they have it so very hard, and we all do, but they do because they're men, and then they're put in little boy position as men. And so I know that has to feel like a horrible thing. No matter how bad they treat us, we're still in a matriarch position as the mother of all things. So they can degrade us and down us and mistreat us. We still stand tall and victorious. And it seems like we are, can't, or we are unbreakable. And we're taught not to break. You may bend, you may fold, but don't break. And that's what most of us women live by. No matter where we are emotionally, mentally, um, physically, economically, we make it do what it do. Men would love to do that, but they can't. But just imagine if the guys that are so selfish and so grafty after money, if they really saw that they're all being mistreated by a system and started collaborating together and making it possible for everybody to be able to be the best entrepreneur they could be. And if the individual guys who hang up under these guys, if they would spend more time perfecting their panel as opposed to abusing other people with this person and supporting them. Just imagine the entrepreneurs that we will have, that possibly a lot of these men are caught up in that very child support situation. I'm sure they are, because in the doxing world of the doxers, they've put out there about people arrears is in child support, the ones that they want to shame. But I'm sure it's happening to many of these brothers, and it would be something if they could work together to help everybody eat and not just one person. But who am I and what do I know? I'm just going to stay in my lane and do my thing, and continue to teach and hopefully uplift. And maybe one day, one of them will hear this and say, you know what, she might be right. I might need to start doing something a little bit different. Um, don't necessarily have to support me, but I wish you would support yourself. And in doing so, that will support me. Let's go on with the conclusion of the matter. It is time to recognize that non custodial parents have endured decades of institutional violence that have trapped them, and therefore their children, in a spiral of economic deprivation. Conclusion: the racist backlash its public assistance for families has informed child support policy for too long, and low income parents, especially black fathers, have had to face the consequences. It is time to recognize that non custodial parents have endured decades of institutional violence that have trapped them and therefore their children in a spiral of economic deprivation. Policymakers must work to leave punitive enforcement efforts in the past and give children what they are owed before another generation is forced to grow up in poverty. The author would like to thank, and y'all, I'm really going to mess up these names, but I'm going to just say something because I want to give them credit. And perhaps what I could do is to keep me from just totally messing up these people's names. I could really do this because I can't pronounce these people's name. Ain't no need of me playing like it. Some things I can ad lib and try to act like I'm really doing. But these names here, ain't no need of me mind. I can't do it. I just can't do it. It says the author would like to thank whatever name you want to call that person: Lily Roberts, Justin Schwartz, Rachel Eisenberg, Marina, whatever her last name could be, Nicole Lee, Naduma Lee, Justin Durazio, Rashad Malik, Ashfaq Khan, and Anona Neal for their valuable support and feedback. This position of American Progress and our policy experts are independent, and the findings and conclusions presented are those of American Press alone. A full list of supporters is available here. And this is just about the article. American Progress would like to acknowledge the many generous supporters who make our work possible. And that's the author, Mr. Cal Ross, Research Associate, Inclusive Economy Team. And Cal did an excellent job, I think. And within this article, like I said, there are several topics that we can draw from and speak on that will be very helpful to us all, I believe. And that is our portion. I don't believe anybody answered anything about their opinion about what you all believe to be the downfall, the breakdown of our nuclear families. I didn't see where anybody answered that question. So, on that note, since nobody cared to respond, I am going to get ready to call it a night. And hopefully, you guys learned something and will go back and listen to what we talked about, because I know that that it is pretty deep. And I just don't expect for you to get it the first time you hear it. And if you can, then I'm grateful. That's really good if you can. But most of us won't, because I know I have to, listen, read, reread, write notes. I have to do all of that. I want to thank y'all for the 15 likes. I don't even think we even had 10 people in here, so that's really a plus. So I thank everybody in the bushes, everybody who just passed by and hit the like button. I appreciate you very much. Thank you all for being here. And of course, I'm going to end with my song. The greatest love that we say is the children, and so, or I should say, are the children. And so let's take it away. Everybody have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week and see you Sunday. I'm leaving the Tiger's Den. Goodbye. I believe the children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. Justice for CJ, a son, brother, father, uncle. Up drove the hearse Cadillac. A crowd of people gathered round, all dressed in black. And as they removed his body from the car, such pain she never knew had filled her heart. It happened on an early Saturday morning When the noise from the phone really disturbed her, she wasn't too sure at first just what the caller meant. When they informed her that there had been an incident, why, oh why, the sound of a mother's cry as she gathered herself and wiped the tears from her eyes. Somebody asked who was the next of kin. But oh Lord, it was the beginning of her end. March 17th, 2018. CJ will forever be 22 years young. Justice for CJ.